Welcome to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation 36th Annual Medal of Valor Awards Ceremony. I'm Secretary Kathleen Allison. It is my great pleasure to join all of you in recognizing and honoring outstanding men and women of CDCR and California Correctional Healthcare Services for their bravery and service. This year we have pre-recorded this ceremony due to COVID-19. While we are all in a better place than we were a year ago, COVID is still very much with us, and we must continue to take needed precautions. This great event is one of the highlights of our year. It is where we typically come together from all parts of the state to celebrate our brothers and sisters for their work to improve our department and for their service to our communities. We will show videos and photos of all the honorees. I also want to say that while not everyone in the department is getting an individual recognition, we all salute and thank every single one of our employees and their families for their hard work. Everyone plays a vital role in our corrections team, and I'm so very proud of the work you do and honored to work alongside all of you. Let's kick things off with the singing of the national anthem by Correctional Counselor 2 Naomi Davis of the California Medical Facility in Vacaville.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Naomi. That was a beautiful rendition of our national anthem. Now we have Reverend Humberto Gomez of Folsom State Prison who will give the invocation.
Almighty God, the heavens tell of your glory, and the expanse declares the work of your hands. We come humbly before you, the Creator and sovereign ruler of all the nations of this earth, and ask your presence with us. We give you thanks for the bounty of your blessings, for the sharing between peoples, for the love of families, friends, and co-workers. We pause today to recognize everyone whose extraordinary actions went above and beyond the call of duty to safeguard the lives of citizens in our communities. With respect and admiration, we proudly acknowledge their exceptional courage, bravery, and compassion as they selflessly serve those in need despite the challenging times we are living in. In this time of bewilderment and fear, we ask you to give all of us the courage to take care of one another. We ask now your blessings upon all who serve the citizens of this state and country. Protect them from harm and support them in their daily duties as they face the dangers with courage and determination. To their families, send them your peace for their anxieties, joy for their fears, hope for their despair, and a sense of your abiding presence wherever they may be. We remember especially those who gave their last full measure. We recall with reverence the invaluable deeds they accomplished in this life. May they rest in your peace. We remember too their families left behind to grieve their loss and cherish their memory. Thank you in particular for those who served so steadfastly in our department through the pandemic. May your power preserve them. May your hands protect them. May your way direct them. And may your love go with them this day and forever. We ask this and pray in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend, for your kind and inspiring words. While the primary purpose of the Medal of Valor ceremony is to celebrate the universal excellence of our staff, it is also important to take a moment to remember those in our CDCR family that we lost due to COVID-19 this past year. As a tribute to their lives and enduring memory, local musician Georgi Hohobashvili will perform Amazing Grace to honor our fallen brothers and sisters. On behalf of the CDCR executive team and the entire CDCR family, we thank you for your service and dedication to the department. And now we honor the recipients of the 2021 Medal of Valor Awards. Although several will receive awards today, in my opinion, every single one of our CDCR employees working in our facilities, DJJ, or parole divisions are all heroes. Our first awards are for the Employee Recognition Program. Presenting our Employee Recognition Awards is Undersecretary of Healthcare Services, Dr. Diana Tosh.
Thank you, Secretary Allison. Each year, directors of our divisions recognize employees in their areas for outstanding work. The first award is for the Executive of the Year, which is given annually to a person or group of people who consistently demonstrate remarkable leadership skills, integrity, values, vision, commitment to excellence, agency performance, community service, and diversity. This year, the award goes to Karen Thacker, Regional Parole Administrator in the Division of Adult Parole Operations, Southern Region Headquarters. Karen has made significant contributions to DAPO policy, training, and programs, such as the Sex Offender Management Program, the Adult Programs Unit, the California Parole Apprehension Team, and the Succession Management Program. Her commitment to public safety and successful reintegration is matched by her commitment to a diverse workforce that represents our state. Karen has also embraced technology as a key best practice tool for Southern Region's effectiveness and success. Under Karen's leadership, public safety has been enhanced while the number of use of force related injuries has gone down. Thank you, Karen, for your outstanding work. The next award is for the Administrator of the Year. This award is given annually to the person or persons who consistently demonstrate remarkable leadership skills, integrity, values, vision, commitment to excellence, agency performance, community service, and diversity. This year's honoree is Dr. Brianna Rojas, Associate Director, Chief Psychologist in CDCR's Office of Employee Wellness. Dr. Rojas is a devoted and compassionate leader who has helped create sustainable physical and behavioral well-being programs for all employees and their families. Under Dr. Rojas's leadership, the Office of Employee Wellness was restructured to include clinical and custody classifications to provide a completely free, voluntary, and confidential mental health and support program for departmental employees. Some of the Office of Employee Wellness's programs and services include the Peer Support Program, the Law Enforcement Chaplaincy Program, the CDCR Wellness app, and the Employee Assistance Program, as well as counseling support, outreach, training, psychoeducation, psychological first aid, crisis counseling, and referral services. This month, the Office of Employee Wellness will implement the Standardized Peer Support Program, which equips peer supporters with the tools and resources needed to best support staff members who have been involved in critical incidents or traumatic events. Thank you, Dr. Rojas, for your outstanding service. Our next award is for the Healthcare Professional of the Year. This award is given annually to a person who works to provide efficient delivery of quality health care. The honoree is Dr. Allison Paczynski, Chief Medical Executive at San Quentin State Prison. While the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention was still considering guidance for responding to COVID-19 in correctional facilities, Dr. Paczynski convened daily huddles for health care and custody leadership. Before the first positive case at San Quentin, Dr. Paczynski had already established a multidisciplinary approach to preventing the spread of COVID-19 and preparing for a potential outbreak. Between June and August last year, more than 2,000 patients and 300 staff members were diagnosed with COVID-19. Throughout these difficult times, Dr. Paczynski maintained a positive approach and an uplifting leadership style. She pushed the importance of self-care and helped her team members maintain a work-life balance during the emergency. Her guidance helped patients and staff feel safe while also forming crucial partnerships outside of CDCR who helped with the outbreak response. Since August 2020, COVID-19 patient cases at San Quentin have remained at or near zero. A major part of this is the result of Dr. Paczynski's efforts. Thank you, Dr. Paczynski, for your outstanding service at San Quentin. To continue our Employee Recognition Awards, I would like to introduce Amy Miller, Director, Division of Correctional Policy Research and Internal Oversight.
Thank you, Dr. Tosh. The next award is for Correctional Officer of the Year. The award is given annually to the person or persons who serve as positive role models and foster an environment that supports a balance between professional development, professional job performance, and personal wellness. The recipient or recipients conduct themselves professionally through fair, honest, and ethical behavior. This year's honoree is Stephen Leatherman, Correctional Officer at California State Prison, Sacramento. Officer Leatherman has demonstrated extraordinary care and concern for his fellow officers. When he noticed that new officers from the academy were being assigned to restrictive housing units and were struggling, or even resigning, he took action. On his own initiative, he developed an enhanced curriculum and added hands-on instruction. He teamed new officers with long-term officers to add a crucial advising component, which enabled the new officers to benefit from the experience of seasoned staff. The results were immediate. Officers had peace of mind and were staying in their jobs, and this was creating a safer work environment for all. Later, Officer Leatherman became a floor officer, which allowed him to act as a consistent mentor for the young officers. The training has been so successful, it is now shared with other institutions as a best practice. Officer Leatherman, thank you for your outstanding service, dedication, and leadership. The next award is for Correctional Supervisor of the Year. This award is given every year to the person or persons who serve as positive role models and foster an environment that supports a balance between professional development, professional job performance, and personal wellness. The recipients conduct themselves professionally through fair, honest, and ethical behavior. This year's honoree is someone who has earned the respect of everyone he interacts with. Mule Creek State Prison, Lieutenant Bo Campbell. Lieutenant Campbell is a 14-year veteran with the department and has worked his way through the ranks as a correctional officer, correctional sergeant, and most recently promoting to lieutenant in March 2020, right at the time the world changed when responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. During the height of the COVID outbreak at Mule Creek State Prison, Lieutenant Campbell was assigned to the Incident Command Post, which was activated to ensure communications and coordination between custody and healthcare operations, public health, and community stakeholders. This included tracking cases, housing inmates, testing, and requesting supplies, as well as making sure staffing was appropriate. As the main custody point of contact, Lieutenant Campbell diligently worked exhausting hours and helped Mule Creek State Prison's efforts to ensure a seamless collaboration between custody, medical, and support staff. In addition, Lieutenant Campbell volunteered to be a mentor for the Correctional Sergeant Mentoring Program and still maintains an active role in that program. The time he devotes in various leadership and training programs, his good work ethics, and constant, positive, can-do attitude has earned the respect of his peers and supervisors. Thank you, Lieutenant Campbell, for your outstanding leadership and for your efforts in building future leaders within the department. Our next award is for Rehabilitation Professional of the Year. This award is given annually to the person or persons who help facilitate the successful reintegration of the individuals in our care back to their communities, equipped with the tools to be drug-free, healthy, and employable members of society by providing education, treatment, rehabilitative, and restorative justice programs, all in a safe and humane environment. This year, we have two honorees. They are Dr. Nina Thomas, Principal at California Correctional Institution, and Stephen Duncan, Correctional Officer at California Medical Facility. In 2008, Nina Thomas, on a whim, applied to become a CDCR teacher. To her surprise, she got the job and loved it. Since then, she has been a model of excellence. She discovered the challenges of working with students at all education levels and developed individualized learning strategies for them to succeed. She was promoted to principal in 2019 and has become known for her outside-of-the-box thinking, deep knowledge of the curriculum, and belief in her students. As her institution was responding to COVID-19, Dr. Thomas drafted telework documents, reopening plans, and other procedures implemented by principals throughout her region. She brought together a group of her peers in regular conversations to share challenges, best practices, and brainstorm suggestions for school improvement. Dr. Thomas also developed a leadership academy this year for new school administrators. Thank you, Dr. Thomas, for your outstanding service to further the mission of CCHCS and CDCR. For Stephen Duncan, working as a correctional officer is not simply a job, it is his mission. He plays a pivotal role in his institution's education department by making sure students get to class. If they are absent, he finds out why and advocates for them to attend. Officer Duncan is a positive role model for students and education staff alike. He comes to work with a smile on his face and is always willing to help with extra tasks. He advises staff and teachers on how best to deal with security challenges and has even conducted restorative justice conversations with incarcerated people. Most importantly, Officer Duncan provides California Medical Facility with the safety and security needed for a successful learning environment. Thank you, Officer Duncan, for your outstanding service in furthering CDCR's mission. Now, I would like to introduce you to Heather Bolts, the Director of the Division of Juvenile Justice, for the next awards.
Thank you, Amy. Our next award is for the Division of Adult Parole Operations Professional of the Year. This award is given annually to the person or persons who work to successfully reintegrate individuals to their communities by helping them be drug-free, healthy, and employable members of society, all in a safe and humane environment. This year's honoree is John Stern, Chief Deputy Regional Administrator in the Division of Adult Parole Operations. Mr. Stern has been instrumental in successfully leading special projects that have been critical to the success and future of the division and department. He has played a primary role in the development and implementation of the earned discharge process, the agent tracking functions in Tableau, the introduction of family systems theory, and the principal policing in DAPO's training regimen. Mr. Stern has also been instrumental in building DAPO's Peer Reentry Navigator Networks program, which brings together successful long-term ex-offenders with newly released ex-offenders to help transition them back into the community. He does all of this while also serving as an adjunct professor teaching courses in criminal justice, psychology, and community reentry. His continued dedication to the fundamental mission, values, and goals of the department and division deserve recognition for a job incredibly well done. Mr. Stern, thank you for your service. Now it is time to present the Division of Juvenile Justice Professional of the Year Award, given annually to the person or persons who provide opportunities for growth and change by identifying and responding to the unique needs of our youth. The award recipient or recipients help to do this through effective treatment, education, and interventions in order to encourage positive lifestyles, reduce recidivism, strengthen families, and protect our communities. This year, there are 2 recipients. Dr. Jonathan Yip, Associate Director of Mental Health and Treatment Programs, and Corette Fussell, Supervising Casework Specialist at Ventura Youth Correctional Facility. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Jonathan Yip successfully transitioned mental health staff to utilize telepsychology in order to ensure youth continue to receive treatment services. Dr. Yip led monitoring and reporting updates throughout the pandemic, including the updating of key statistics. He implemented policies and practices and training consistent with the new standard of care required under the Transgendered Respect, Agency, and Dignity Act, and ensured that they aligned with CDCR's policies and procedures. Dr. Yip developed a staff survey to help provide insight to the executive management team on how best to help staff as DJJ transitions through its realignment. Dr. Yip trained new psychology staff while continuing with his regular duties overseeing training at DJJ and care for all DJJ youth. His infectious enthusiasm, steady leadership, and ability to synthesize complex data into actionable information is an inspiration. Thank you for your exemplary service, Dr. Yip. Corette Fussell is the Disciplinary Decision-Making System Coordinator at Ventura Youth Correctional Facility, but she takes on many additional roles that make her essential to the operation of the facility. The many additional functions she handles are Drug Testing Coordinator, Public Records Act Coordinator, Litigation Coordinator, and Public Information Officer. As the PIO, she captures and highlights all of Ventura's stories that are published in DJJ and CDCR media channels. In addition, Ms. Fussell is instrumental in the planning, creating, and facilitating of youth activities, all of which are incentive-based and capture the true essence of working with the youth population. The results is higher achievement using innovative pursuits that decrease negative behaviors. Thank you, Corette, for your dedication to the youth and staff in DJJ. Our next award are for Distinguished Service Medals. Brant Choate, Director of the Division of Rehabilitative Programs, will present them.
Thank you, Heather. The Distinguished Service Medal is awarded for an employee's or group of employees' work conduct with the department for a period of months or years, or involvement in a specific assignment of unusual benefit to the department. Our first Distinguished Service Medal is awarded to Dustin Stiegel, Correctional Officer at Wasco State Prison. If you need to find an example of what it means to give back to the community, look no further than Wasco State Prison Correctional Officer Dustin Stiegel. For the past 4 years, Officer Stiegel has volunteered with the Kern County Search and Rescue Team on his own time. Officer Stiegel has acquired several certifications, including rescue diving, scuba diving, and water recovery operations. He also has Type 1 certification for hiking rescues, a specialty in ground searching and tracking. Type 1 hikers carry enough gear to stay overnight or up to a few days at any altitude or any terrain, and are also certified in wilderness first aid. As a result, Officer Stiegel has been involved in dozens of water rescues, helping to save 10 survivors and providing closure to family members by recovering 6 victims from the dangerous Upper Kern River. He has helped save lost and injured hikers and was needed in the desert, where he helped find injured hikers, ATV enthusiasts, and people trapped in abandoned mines. Officer Stiegel also supported state emergency operations and responded with the Kern County Search and Rescue Team to the 2018 Camp Fire in Butte County to assist in the search and recovery of 2 victims in the aftermath of the devastating blaze that destroyed the town of Paradise. He and the team also responded to the Northern Complex Fire in Butte County and other fires, helping to evacuate residents and assisting in recovery operations. Officer Stiegel also serves as a peer support team member and an EEO counselor at Wasco State Prison. Thank you, Officer Stiegel, for all your dedication to serving others. Our next Distinguished Service Medal is awarded to 2 Division of Juvenile Justice treatment teams for their exemplary work. In late 2020, the first ever high core trial program was implemented. This program provided treatment and interventions to the most violent, resistive, behaviorally challenged, and gang-entrenched youth at DJJ. The mission of the program is to focus on rehabilitation by fostering a therapeutic environment that supports, promotes, and encourages positive change in youth. This is done in a pro-social manner with the goal of reducing the level of violence, gang activity, student absenteeism, and overall behavioral management issues. The first team being recognized is the Owens Treatment Team at the N.A. Tradergian Youth Correctional Facility in Stockton. The following team members are being acknowledged for their hard work on this program. The second team to be recognized is the Alta Vista Treatment Team at Ventura Youth Correctional Facility. The following recipients are being recognized for their exemplary achievement with this program. Thank you for all your service. Our next Distinguished Service Medals are awarded to the team who oversaw the development and implementation of policies, procedures, training, and education on the housing and searching of the incarcerated transgender community. For the past 2 years, the work group has met regularly to review and develop policies to protect some of the most vulnerable people in the state prison system. The work group researched other correctional departments' policies and took an in-depth look at how CDCR can align itself with national best practices. Their work will result in safer, more manageable institutions, prevent sexual abuse, create more respectful environments, improve outcomes for reentry, improve medical care, and prevent and reduce staff discipline, and was commended by the Office of the Inspector General. Together, let's honor the following recipients for their outstanding achievement. thank you for your service. Our next Distinguished Service Medals are for the teams from CDCR and CCHCS who formed the data backbone of our COVID-19 response. Responding to an emergency requires speed and the right information. CCHCS's Quality Management and CDCR's Office of Research partnered with public health agencies to provide critical tracking systems that were crucial to managing the COVID-19 outbreak. These tools were vital for making decisions impacting the health and safety of patients and staff as we all worked to contain the virus spread. These efforts helped track the health status of all institutions while providing transparency to the public and our external stakeholders. Without this cooperation between CDCR and CCHCS, the fight against COVID-19 in our institutions would have been significantly more difficult. Their work is an example of the teamwork that brings the best care for our patients. The following recipients are being recognized for their vital contribution to the department. Thank you to all these recipients. Your work is an example of the teamwork that brings the best care for our patients.
I'm Tammy Foss, Director of Correctional Services for CCHCS, and I'm here to introduce the recipients for the Bronze Star Medal Awards. The Bronze Star Medals is the department's award for saving a life without placing oneself in peril. The employee shall have used proper training and tactics in a professional manner to save or clearly contribute to saving the life of another person. Our first Bronze Star is awarded to Correctional Officer Cody Greer from California Medical Facility. While Officer Greer and some friends were fishing for halibut in the San Francisco Bay, they witnessed a boat capsize in the distance. Immediately, Officer Greer started his boat and drove to the capsized vessel. On their way to render assistance, a charter boat in the area also saw the incident and called the United States Coast Guard with their radio. While Officer Greer arrived at the incident, he saw 3 men holding on to their capsized boat. Officer Greer and his friends were able to save all 3 and get them safely aboard the Coast Guard vessel. Thank you, Officer Greer, for saving others from harm. Our next Bronze Star is awarded to Correctional Counselor 1, Jennifer Howard Hammer from California State Prison, Sacramento. Counselor Howard Hammer and a friend were having breakfast in Roseville when a patron at a nearby table with his family started choking and was unable to breathe. Seeing the gentleman in obvious distress, Counselor Howard Hammer immediately responded. She asked if he was able to breathe, and the choking patron motioned he could not. After considering her options, she saw that he was beginning to turn blue, and the situation was becoming dire. Without hesitation, she relied on her CPR training and began to perform the Heimlich maneuver. On the last thrust, the gentleman expelled the object obstructing his airway. It took him several minutes to regain his composure, but he and his family quickly realized that Correctional Counselor Howard Hammer had just saved his life. Thank you, Counselor Howard Hammer, for your service. Our next Bronze Star is awarded to Correctional Sergeant Ricardo Uria from the Richard A. McGee Correctional Training Center in Galt. During off-duty hours, Sergeant Uria and his son responded to an incident involving a bicyclist and a vehicle. Sergeant Uria, who is a CPR instructor, and his son performed CPR on the seriously injured bicyclist. Another man responded to the scene and began assisting with the CPR efforts, and later identified himself as Sergeant Michael Gagliolo from California Healthcare Facility. Witnesses shared on social media that the injured man initially did not have a pulse, but did eventually begin breathing on his own and was taken by ambulance to a nearby hospital. Sergeant Urea and his son cared for the injured man's dog until it could be relinquished to the man's family. While the injured man did eventually succumb to his injuries, Sergeant Urea, his son, Sergeant Gagliolo, life-saving attempts prolonged the man's life long enough for the family to say goodbye and his organs to be harvested and donated, potentially saving others' lives. Thank you for your service, Sergeant Urea. Our next Bronze Star is awarded to Correctional Officer Kimberly Silva with the Statewide Transportation Central Unit. On November 9, 2020, Officer Silva and Correctional Officer Tony Reyna were traveling from North Kern State Prison to California State Prison, Los Angeles County in Lancaster on Highway 43, when they were the first to arrive at the scene of a two-car accident. They could see smoke coming from a car in a ditch, and a van was flipped on its passenger side, partially blocking the southbound lane of Highway 43. Officer Silva rushed to the vehicles in the ditch to render aid. Officer Reyna called 911 to report the accident and stood next to the van to slow traffic. Officer Silva asked the female driver in the car if anyone else was in the car, and she responded, "My baby, my baby." Officer Silva frantically searched the car and found a 10-day-old infant pinned between the car seat and the passenger seat unconscious. Officer Silva freed the baby from the car and used her knuckles to rub the baby's sternum to get the baby to gain consciousness until the baby began crying. Officer Silva was told that the baby most likely would not have made it if she did not react as fast as she did to get the baby to gain consciousness. Thank you for your heroic act, Officer Silva.
Our next Bronze Star is awarded to Correctional Officer William Mayfield from Valley State Prison. Correctional Officer Mayfield and Correctional Officer Giovanni Gomez were returning from a medical transport on Highway 180 and Freeway 41 when they witnessed a vehicle in the number 1 lane of Highway 180 veer off the shoulder, roll 4 to 6 times, and then land upside down. Officer Mayfield exited the vehicle and proceeded across the freeway to assess the situation. Upon arriving at the vehicle, Officer Mayfield assisted the bleeding female driver out of the vehicle and to safety. Officer Mayfield returned to the overturned vehicle and immediately observed that there was a baby hanging upside down in the back seat of the vehicle in a car seat. Officer Mayfield noticed the baby was initially crying, but while removing the baby from the back seat, the baby stopped crying and appeared to have a blue tint to its skin. Officer Mayfield proceeded to remove the car seat, keeping the baby strapped in, and started rubbing the baby's face and chest until the baby took a deep breath and started crying again. Thank you for your heroic act, Officer Mayfield. Our next Bronze Star is awarded to Joseph Hasso, Correctional Food Manager at Central California Women's Facility. While at home on April 19, 2020, Mr. Hasso heard gunshots outside and saw a young man down on the ground with apparent gunshot wounds. Mr. Hasso and his neighbor assessed the scene and responded to assist the young man. He and his neighbor were able to help the young man into the neighbor's home and applied direct pressure to the wounds until police and paramedics arrived to take over the scene. Thank you for your swift act of service, Mr. Hasso. Our next Bronze Star goes to Jim Liptrap, the now retired superintendent at the Pine Grove Youth Conservation Camp in Amador County. On July 29, 2020, Superintendent Liptrap was relaxing at home after a day of overseeing the operations of the Youth Fire Camp in Amador County foothills during the height of a historic difficult fire season. He heard what sounded like sounds of distress coming from a neighbor's home and walked down to investigate. One of his neighbors was on the ground, unconscious. Using his training, he assessed the situation and began performing CPR until emergency personnel could make their way to the resident and transport the unconscious patients to the hospital. Unfortunately, despite all of the best efforts of Superintendent Liptrap, emergency responders, and hospital staff, the man eventually passed away. Thank you, Superintendent Liptrap, for your active service and heroic efforts. Our next Bronze Star is awarded to Paul Ford, Parole Agent 1 with the Division of Adult Parole Operations. What seemed like an ordinary mid-October afternoon in Stockton took a dramatic skid when Parole Agent 1, Paul Ford, came upon a two-car collision on B Street. He was suddenly the first responder on a dangerous scene that could turn tragically explosive. The first victim he saw was a middle-aged woman who seemed to be suffering from abdominal pains. She was alert and had no visible injuries. Agent Ford hurried to the other car while calling 911 to request police, fire, and emergency medical services. He spotted a young man who seemed to be fading in and out of consciousness. The victim could not get out of his car. He attempted to pull the young man to safety immediately, but the displaced dashboard held a grip on the victim. With the help of another courageous Good Samaritan, they pulled away the dashboard only to find the victim injured at the hips and bleeding from his legs and head. Agent Ford carefully placed the injured man on his own back and carried him away from the leaking fuel and potential explosion. Just then, Stockton firefighters and the California Highway Patrol arrived and extinguished the immediate fire danger. Thank you, Agent Ford, for your bravery, selflessness, and fast action in the face of danger. Our next Bronze Star is awarded to Correctional Officers Dustin Morrison and Elias Rodriguez and Registered Nurse Michelle McKee from the California Correctional Center. On December 12, 2020, a High Desert State Prison staff member was traveling on Center Road in Susanville on their way to work when they hit black ice, causing the vehicle to slide sideways and skidding off the roadway. The front of the vehicle dropped into a ditch, causing it to roll several times. The staff member was ejected from the vehicle and was located approximately 50 feet from where the vehicle came to rest. Staff members from High Desert State Prison and California Correctional Center, including Correctional Officers Morrison and Rodriguez, along with Registered Nurse McKee, stopped to assist the driver and render aid. Due to the diligent effort of all staff involved to begin the life-saving aid needed, the staff member survived this life-threatening accident to be rejoined with his family and loved ones. Thank you for your service. Our next Bronze Star is awarded to Correctional Sergeants Steve Oshner and Stephen Harkness from the California Correctional Center. In August 2020, the complex fire in Tehama County began to threaten the Salt Creek camp. All inmates were evacuated from Salt Creek camp, as well as the staff, with the exception of Sergeant Harkness and Sergeant Oshner and a small crew of CAL FIRE staff. As the day went on and the fire approached the camp, it became apparent that the threat of the fire impacting the camp was imminent and that defensive operations would need to be performed if the camp was to be saved. A group of firefighters arrived to assist, and just before operations began, numerous CAL FIRE staff were required to leave in a last-minute effort to save the town of Pasquinta, as it was also in imminent danger. Sergeant Harkness and Sergeant Oshner jumped in and assisted in the fire response operation to fill the void in the lack of personnel. After 36 hours of grueling work, Salt Creek Camp was saved. Thank you for your tireless and heroic efforts. Our next awards, the Silver Star Medals, will be presented by our Undersecretary of Administration, Jennifer Barreto.
Thank you, Connie. The Silver Star is the department's third highest award for acts of bravery under extraordinary or unusual circumstances. The employee shall display courage in the face of potential peril while saving or attempting to save the life of another person, or distinguish himself or herself by performing in stressful situations with exceptional tactics or judgment. Our first Silver Star is awarded to Carlos Garcia, Correctional Supervising Cook at Calipatria State Prison. In September 2020, Mr. Garcia was driving down Old Highway 111 between Calipatria and Brawley when he noticed a vehicle on the side of the road with a flicker of flames growing underneath it. Without hesitation, Mr. Garcia sprinted to the scene and with the help of another bystander, pulled a man from the vehicle shortly before it became engulfed in flames. Mr. Garcia, because of your selfless action and quick thinking, a life was saved. Thank you. Our next Silver Star is awarded to Correctional Sergeant Randy Turner of San Quentin State Prison. On Father's Day of 2020, while driving down a street in Vallejo with his family, Sergeant Turner witnessed a vehicle slam into a tree and catch fire. He immediately pulled his car over to assist and found that the occupants of the vehicle were injured and incapable of moving. Also on the scene was a retired officer from the Solano County Sheriff's Department. Together, they pulled the victims out of the wreckage before the flames accelerated. Sergeant Turner applied his training from CDCR when responding to this incident and prevented further harm. Thank you for your brave act. Our next Silver Star goes to California State Prison Solano Correctional Officer Earl Cooper. In October of last year, the California Highway Patrol responded to an incident involving a suspect experiencing a mental health crisis. The subject had led the officers on a high-speed pursuit eastbound on Interstate 80 and intentionally drove his car into a tree. The driver refused to exit the vehicle that began to catch fire. Officer Cooper, who happened to be in the area, noticed a CHP officer struggling to remove the driver from the vehicle. He ran to the aid of the officer, and together they were able to remove the 6'5", 250-pound man. The responding CHP officer said that he would not have been able to save the man's life if it were not for Officer Cooper. Thank you for meeting the moment, on and off the clock, Officer Cooper. Our next Silver Star goes to Veronica Cantu, Correctional Sergeant at Valley State Prison. On Saturday, December 19th, 2020, Sergeant Cantu and her husband, Alex Cantu, were driving south on Highway 145, just outside the city of Madera, when they saw a sedan and an SUV on the side of the road. The vehicle had just been in a collision, and smoke was coming from the sedan. Without hesitation, Sergeant Cantu and her husband, Alex, exited their vehicle and sprinted to the distressed vehicles to provide aid. They were able to open the driver's side door of the sedan, but the passenger side was jammed. Sergeant Cantu's husband worked to get the two passengers safely out of the vehicle through the open door while she went to assist those in the SUV. Luckily, those in the sedan were pulled to safety before flames began to emit from the engine. The SUV, however, was not in good shape, and the three passengers inside were in desperate need of help. The driver of the SUV was restricted by their seatbelt and having a difficult time breathing. Sergeant Cantu's husband, Alex, cut the belt and freed them. The driver then told them that she had suffered leg and hip injuries and could not move. So with the help of bystanders, they safely removed her from the vehicle, as well as the other two occupants of the SUV. Another occupant of the vehicle was unconscious, to whom Sergeant Cantu's husband performed CPR until emergency personnel arrived on scene and took over life-saving measures. Thank you to Sergeant Cantu and your family for your exceptional actions during a time of great need. Our final Silver Star awards go to the High Desert State Prison employees who worked together to provide assistance during a fatal head-on collision on Interstate 395 just south of the city of Doyle. On June 9th, 2020, High Desert State Prison staff members, Officer Larry Middlesworth, Officer Alejandro Munoz, Officer Alan Freitas, Sergeant Molly Caroon, Officer Andrew Curzon, Officer Glenn Martinez, Officer Jordan Page, Officer Jamil Patterson and Lieutenant Jonathan Seberg were in a van pool heading to Susanville from Reno, Nevada, when they responded to an incident where a Toyota Corolla struck a Chevrolet Astro van head-on while attempting to pass another vehicle. They approached the Astro van, which was rolled over on the passenger side, and had 2 adults and a small child inside. With the help of nearby civilians, the 4 officers were able to extract 1 adult and the child from the van. The other adult, a female, was pinned under the front right side of the vehicle, which was now on fire. Additional staff responded with fire extinguishers to quell the flames, while others attempted to extract the female occupant. Eventually, all staff members and a few civilians were able to push the van upright. The van was still on fire, and the trapped occupant warned them that the van contained flammable material and that they needed to hurry. 7 fire extinguishers were emptied while trying to keep the flames at bay. Finally, the female was freed and Sergeant Caroon provided first aid until emergency services arrived. High Desert State Prison staff then turned their attention to the other vehicle, a Toyota involved in the crash, and provided assistance to emergency personnel now on the scene. Together, they used crowbars to pry open the Toyota. A single male occupant was in the vehicle. After removing him from the vehicle, staff performed breath cycles and chest compressions. Despite their best efforts, the driver succumbed to his injuries. The CHP called the High Desert staff members heroes, who saved the lives of a family in serious trouble. Thank you to all on the scene who did everything in their power to assist during this emergency. Our next presentations will be for the Gold Star Medals. Our Undersecretary of Operations, Jeff McCumber, will present these awards.
Thank you, Jennifer. The Gold Star Medal is the department's second highest award for heroic deeds under extraordinary circumstances. The employee shall display courage in the face of immediate peril and acting to save the life of another person. The first Gold Star is awarded to Tracy Master, Parole Agent 1 with the Division of Adult Parole Operations. On February 7th, Agent Master was on duty and driving when she saw a fight between 2 people in the middle of an intersection in Sacramento. After stopping her vehicle, she saw that one of the suspects had a knife and another suspect was bleeding. She immediately called local law enforcement and emergency medical personnel to the scene. Agent Master then exited her vehicle, drew her firearm, and ordered the armed suspect to throw down the knife, to which he complied. After Agent Master gave orders for the suspect to kick the knife away, he picked the knife back up. Agent Master repeated her orders to the suspect to drop the knife, eventually getting him to comply. Because of Agent Master's actions, both suspects were quickly detained at the scene by responding law enforcement, and the stabbing suspect was immediately transported to a local hospital and survived his injuries. Thank you, Agent Master, for your selfless response to a dangerous situation. Our next Gold Star Medal goes to Greg Williams, retired information technology specialist, formerly with the Central California Women's Facility. On December 10th, Greg Williams was spending a quiet day with his granddaughter, watching cartoons and sorting through Christmas ornaments. Then he heard a man next door screaming for help. Mr. Williams made sure his granddaughter was safe, then went to check on his neighbor. The neighbor told Mr. Williams that an armed man had broken into the house and was holding his wife at gunpoint in the backyard. Mr. Williams told his neighbor to call 911, retrieved his gun from the safe, and quietly made his way to his neighbor's backyard. There, a man was holding the woman in a headlock, the gun aimed at her head. The man looked up and saw Mr. Williams was only a short distance away and pointed the gun at him. Mr. Williams remained calm. He let the man know that he was armed. He also let him know that the woman he was holding was the mother of 2 young children who were terrified and didn't want to see her hurt. After what seemed like forever, the police arrived. The armed intruder was taken into custody and no one was injured. Thank you, Greg Williams, for your brave and life-saving service. Our next presentation will be for the Medal of Valor, and Secretary Kathleen Allison will present this award.
Our final award is the Medal of Valor. The Medal of Valor is the department's highest award. The Medal of Valor is awarded to employees who distinguish themselves by conspicuous bravery or heroism above and beyond the normal demands of correctional service. This year, the Medal of Valor is awarded to Louis Cardenas, Parole Agent 1 with the Division of Adult Parole Operations. On December 28, 2020, Agent Cardenas was checking in on a parolee near the Walmart store at Fashion Plaza in Bakersfield when he heard multiple gunshots coming from the store and saw people running. He assessed the situation and notified law enforcement with his radio. Agent Cardenas saw a man with a firearm and approached him with his state-issued firearm drawn. Identifying himself as a state parole agent, Agent Cardenas ordered the man to drop the firearm. The man dropped the firearm, but said he had only picked it up after the actual shooter had dropped it before running inside the store. Multiple witnesses pointed into the store and said the shooter ran inside. Later, an investigation revealed that the shooter had fired into the parking lot and then discharged the weapon when it jammed. Agent Cardenas seized the gun and entered the store. A female employee frantically approached him and pointed to the suspect, who was standing near the jewelry counter. Agent Cardenas approached the suspect, who surrendered to him without incident. He held the suspect at gunpoint until the arrival of the Bakersfield Police Department officers and assisted them to take him into custody. He also stayed with the suspect as police officers evacuated the store and cleared the building for any other threats or additional suspect. There were no injuries or death, and the Bakersfield Police Department acknowledged the efforts of Agent Cardenas in taking the suspect into custody. We are grateful, Agent Cardenas, for your bravery and selflessness in responding to this incident and risking your own life to prevent harm to others. Jeff Bauer, one of our amazing videographers with the Office of Public and Employee Communications, has created a wonderful video about Agent Cardenas' life-saving actions.
I like the job. I think it's a great job because it's large part law enforcement, which is a great way to, to help the community. But the other half is individual contact, one-on-one with your clients. You appreciate what you have, but part of the appreciation is wanting to give back or wanting to help. Like my brothers here, I want them to come to me if they need help.
2 Hill 3.
Personal, professional, if they need it, I'm gonna be there. In fact, because of the situation that took place at Walmart, while I was there, people were calling me and they're asking, hey, what's going on at Walmart? And I'm like, oh, there was a shooting, and they're like, are you there? And I said, yeah, I'm actually the one that was there. And they're like, yeah, that's what I figured. And it was like, somehow they kind of thought, if somebody's gonna be there to help, it was probably Cardenas. As I'm scanning the parking lot, I hear 2 shots behind me. So, I look and I can see there are people running away from the entrance. It happened very quickly. And like I said, a lot of the times the training just kicks in. I heard the gunshots and I just ran towards it. Probably stupid. We have active shooter training, and one of the slides, big bold letters, seconds or lives. Seconds or lives. It makes you mad because that person doesn't have the right to scare an entire store. That's a big store. Everybody was running out. So when it was over, an older lady came up and I said, are you gonna be okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna be fine. It's just that my daughter works in the back. And when I saw you run in, I knew she was gonna be okay. So that made me angry. The whole thing made me angry because this dude doesn't have that right. They made it seem more like a bigger deal than what I thought. It was on the news.
The local Walmart that was evacuated because of a reported gunshot just outside the store. Officers say he then allegedly tossed the weapon when it appeared to malfunction and ran into the store. No one was hurt.
One of my brothers was calling me a superstar for 2 months, like, hey, superstar, there he is, there's the guy. I had heard that they submitted my name for it, and I didn't really think about it too much. It's a good thing. You gotta tell people they're doing a good job. Well, my wife, she works for the department as well. She works at one of the prisons, and she has her whole work section cheering for me. So they're excited about it. My wife is excited about it, but she was really upset that day. To me, it's something that I would hope would motivate other people that would want to take action, that would want to help when help is needed. I don't think I could have done anything differently, only because there were no intervals to think. It just happened. I don't know how long it was, but it seemed like, I don't know, 15 seconds. I know it was a lot longer than that, from driving to him on the ground. I mean, I'm glad I was there. I'm glad I was there. It would seem selfish not to want to help others, if that makes sense. If you have that ability, why not do it? Every day is going to be different, and we have policy, we have tactics, we have training, we run scenarios, we have range, but nothing is going to prepare you for when somebody shoots 2 rounds in a Walmart parking lot. They don't cover that, but that's something that you have to be ready for.
Congratulations to all of our award recipients. Your dedication to public service, your willingness to put yourselves in harm's way to save others, and your professionalism exemplifies the best of CDCR. This concludes our ceremony. Thank you for watching, and best wishes to you and your family. Please be safe.